They needed a third option, and they had 30 days to find it. As Han Bin looked at the holographic display of the alien fleet, still hovering over major cities worldwide, he couldn't help but wonder if humanity had just witnessed the beginning of its end, or perhaps, though he didn't know it yet, the start of its greatest journey. 3 days after the Empire's ultimatum, the Emergency Council gathered again in a secure underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps. The room was smaller than the UN chamber, but the tension was just as thick. Military leaders presented their simulations, all ending in Earth's defeat. Economic advisors showed projections of how the tribute demands would cripple Earth's economy within months. Tai-Young Kim sat quietly through these presentations, his tablet computer displaying complex calculations that only he seemed to understand. As head of the Global Science Initiative, he had stayed unusually silent during the previous meetings. But now, as another general began describing a doomed defensive strategy, he stood up. "We're not going to fight, and we're certainly not going to submit," he declared, his voice cutting through the noise. The room fell silent. Tai-Young walked to the central display and connected his tablet. "We're going to leave." Han Bin Park leaned forward, frowning. "Leave? Leave where? The Empire controls most of the known galaxy." Tai-Young's fingers danced across his tablet, and a new image appeared on the main screen. It showed what looked like an experimental spacecraft, but its design was like nothing anyone had seen before. For the past 15 years, the Global Science Initiative has been running a classified program called Project Exodus. He paused, looking around the room. "We've developed faster than light travel." The silence that followed was deafening. Jai-Yun Lee was the first to recover. "That's impossible. We would have known." "No, you wouldn't have," Tai-Young interrupted gently. "We kept it hidden precisely because we feared attracting attention from advanced alien civilizations. It seems our caution was justified." He brought up more images, massive underground facilities, prototype engines, and technical specifications that made the aerospace engineers in the room gasp. "We've been testing this technology in secret, using a facility in the asteroid belt. The Empire's sensors are focused on Earth. They haven't noticed our small-scale experiments." Young Ho Kang, Earth's leading aerospace engineer, stood up and walked to the screen. His eyes moved rapidly over the technical data. "This is real," he whispered. "The math checks out. The energy requirements are within our capabilities." Tai-Young nodded. "We've built 5 prototype ships already. They can carry up to 10,000 people each, but that's not enough." He looked around the room. "I propose we convert Earth's entire industrial capacity to building generation ships. While the Empire thinks we're gathering their tribute, we'll actually be preparing for the greatest evacuation in human history." Questions exploded from all corners. How many ships could they build? Where would they go? How would they feed everyone? Tai-Young and Young Ho answered each one with detailed plans that showed they had thought this through carefully. "Our calculations show we can build enough ships to evacuate 70% of Earth's population," Young Ho explained, bringing up population distribution maps. "We'll need to use every factory, every shipyard, every resource we have. But it's possible." Han Bin stood up, his military mind already analyzing the logistics. "The Empire will be watching us. How do we hide something this massive?" Jai-Yun smiled for the first time since the Empire arrived. "We don't hide it. We flaunt it. They expect to see us gathering resources and building large structures to prepare their tribute. We'll do exactly that, but with a different purpose." The room began to buzz with energy as people started to see the possibility. It was crazy, but it was also their best chance. World leaders who had been arguing minutes ago now huddled together, discussing how to coordinate their resources. Tai-Young brought up a final image, a map of nearby star systems. "We've identified several potential destinations outside the Empire's known territory. The ships will scatter in different directions, making it impossible for them to track everyone down." "What about the other 30%? Someone asked. The room grew quiet again. We'll need volunteers to stay behind, Han Bin said, understanding dawning on his face. A rear guard to maintain the deception until the last possible moment. Jia-yun nodded slowly. And to make sure the Empire never learns where our people have gone. It will mean sacrifice. The weight of what they were proposing settled over the room. This wasn't just an evacuation. It was saying goodbye to Earth itself. But as they looked at the alternatives, slavery to the Empire or extinction, the choice became clear. We have 27 days, Tai Young said, bringing up a countdown timer. Every hour, every minute counts. We need to begin now. The room erupted into action. Leaders began calling their industrial ministers. Military commanders started planning how to convert weapons factories into shipyards. Scientists huddled around Tai Young's data, already working on how to scale up the technology. In the midst of the activity, Han Bin approached Jia-yun. "Do you think we can really do this?" he asked quietly. She watched the room full of people who, just hours ago, had been ready to give up. Now they moved with purpose, with hope. "We have to," she replied. "We're about to attempt the greatest escape in human history." The plan was set in motion. Operation Exodus had begun. The factory floor hummed with activity as Su-jin Choi walked through rows of workers assembling what appeared to be mining equipment. To the Empire's observers watching from orbit, this facility was producing devices to extract rare Earth elements. Their demanded tribute. But hidden beneath the outer shells, these machines contained the vital life support systems that would keep millions of humans alive during their journey through space. Su-jin paused to check a worker's assembly technique, making minute adjustments to improve efficiency. Every second counted now. As head of Earth's global manufacturing initiative, she had transformed thousands of factories worldwide in just 10 days. Weapons plants now created atmospheric processors disguised as mineral refiners. Shipyards tucked into mountain ranges assembled massive colony vessels piece by piece, hidden from the Empire's prying eyes. "Status report," she called out to her floor manager. The screens around them showed production quotas that seemed to align perfectly with the Empire's tribute demands. But Su-jin knew the real numbers. They were ahead of schedule on life support systems, but behind on water recycling units. Do-hyun Park appeared beside her, his counterintelligence badge glinting under the factory lights. "The Empire's observers just completed their daily scan," he said quietly. "They're completely convinced by our performance. The head observer even commended Earth's admirable acceptance of our new role." Su-jin allowed herself a small smile. Do-hyun's deception campaign had been masterful. His teams had leaked carefully crafted information packages showing Earth's resigned acceptance of imperial rule. They had even staged public demonstrations supporting submission, while underground facilities worked at full capacity on the Exodus fleet. "How are the mountain facilities?" Su-jin asked as they walked to her office. The real shipyards, hidden deep in ranges from the Rockies to the Himalayas, were their most crucial secret. "Running perfectly. The Empire's sensors can't penetrate the natural shielding of the mountains, and our surface activities look exactly like mineral extraction." Do-hyun brought up a holographic display showing the massive ships taking shape in these hidden chambers. "We're using the old no-raid facilities, abandoned missile silos, everything we can find." The office window offered a view of what appeared to be a massive stockpile of tribute resources. In reality, the huge containers held disassembled ship components, ready to be transported to assembly points when the time came. Every truck that moved, every crane that lifted, was part of an elaborate dance designed to fool the Imperial observers. "The latest intelligence?" Su-jin asked, reviewing production reports. "They're buying it completely. The Empire thinks we're broken. Just another conquered world accepting its place." Do-hyun's eyes gleamed. "They don't realize that every tribute-gathering activity they're watching is actually preparation for our escape." A warning light flashed on Su-jin's desk. Imperial observers were making an unscheduled inspection. Within seconds, the factory floor transformed. Workers smoothly switched to their cover tasks, and holographic overlays activated to hide the true nature of their work. When the Imperial drone passed by the windows, it saw exactly what it expected to see: humble humans preparing their tribute. "Close call," Do-hyun muttered after the drone left. "They're getting more frequent with their inspections." Soo-jin nodded, checking the time. 15 days until the deadline. "We're going to make it," she said firmly. "The first wave of ships is almost ready." "How's the population preparation going?" "People are being quietly organized into departure groups. We're using the Empire's own population registration demands as cover for assigning people to ships." Do-hyun showed her the lists on his secure tablet. Every person who thinks they're registering for Imperial citizenship is actually getting their evacuation assignment. The factory intercom crackled with a coded message. Another shipment of mining equipment was ready for transport. Soo-jin watched as the trucks moved out, carrying precious cargo that would help ensure humanity's survival among the stars. "Sometimes I can't believe we're pulling this off," she admitted quietly. "The largest deception in human history." Do-hyun smiled. "That's because we're doing the one thing the Empire never expected. We're using their own arrogance against them. They're so convinced of our submission that they're not looking deeper." A message came through from one of the mountain facilities. They had completed another colony ship. Soo-jin quickly authorized its camouflage transport to a hidden launch facility. Every successful deception brought them closer to freedom. As night fell, the factory shifted to its night cycle, but the work never stopped. Under the cover of darkness, more ships took shape, more systems were tested, and humanity moved one step closer to its great escape. The Empire's observers noted the constant activity with approval, never realizing they were watching their own defeat being crafted before their eyes. Soo-jin looked up at the stars visible through her office window, where the Empire's ships still loomed. Soon those stars would become humanity's new home, scattered across the galaxy, freed from Imperial control. But first, they had to maintain the greatest deception ever attempted for just a few more days. The night shift began, and the dance of deception continued. 5 days remained until the Empire's deadline. In a converted sports stadium deep beneath London, Min Ji-song stared at the holographic displays showing the status of humanity's greatest migration. Thousands of names scrolled past as her team processed the latest group assignments. Family Unit 247,891 has been assigned to Ship Orion, her assistant reported. "They're moving through processing now." On the stadium floor below, people moved in orderly lines through medical checks and orientation stations. Every person had a specific ship assignment, a designated role, and a carefully planned route to their evacuation point. Min-ji watched as young children clutched their favorite toys while parents carried the maximum allowed personal items, 20 pounds per person, no exceptions. It broke her heart to see people leaving behind generations of history, but every ounce of weight mattered for the journey ahead. "Report from the Knowledge Preservation Team," another aide called out. Min-ji turned to a different screen. Teams of librarians, scientists, and historians had worked tirelessly to digitize humanity's most important information. Art, literature, scientific knowledge, historical records, all compressed and stored in secure databases aboard each ship. "How many ships are loaded?" she asked, checking the main countdown timer that dominated the command center. 7,342 ships are at full capacity. Another 1,000 will be ready by tomorrow. The numbers were staggering, yet they needed every single vessel to save as many people as possible. Above them, in low Earth orbit, Jun-Ho Lee floated in the command module of what the Empire thought was a tribute processing station. In reality, it was the control center for humanity's exodus. His skeleton crew maintained a constant stream of fake communications and activity to keep the Empire's attention focused away from the real action. "Imperial probe approaching Sector 7, his tactical officer reported. Jun-Ho calmly activated the holographic camouflage systems. When the probe passed by, it saw only containers of minerals and biological specimens being prepared for transport. "They suspect nothing," Jun-Ho reported back to Earth. Their arrogance is our best shield. They can't imagine we would dare to flee rather than submit. Back in the underground stadium, Min-ji received his report with relief. Every day without discovery brought more people to safety. She moved to the medical section, where doctors were performing final checks on the next group of evacuees. Everyone gets the basic medical package, she reminded the staff. Immunizations, genetic backup, and cryo preparation. The ships would travel for years to reach safe havens. Most passengers would spend that time in suspended animation. A commotion near the family processing section caught her attention. A young boy was crying, refusing to let go of his dog, an animal too large to fit the strict weight requirements. Min-ji approached, knelt beside the child. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Tommy," he sniffled. "Please don't make me leave Max behind." Min-ji thought quickly. They had special dispensation for service animals and smaller pets, but larger dogs were a problem. Then she remembered something. "Tommy, do you know about the special animal ships?" His eyes widened as she explained how veterinarians had prepared special vessels for Earth's animals. "Max can travel on one of those ships. You'll meet him again when we reach our new home." It wasn't entirely a lie. They were preserving Earth's biodiversity, including domestic animals. The boy hugged his dog goodbye as special handlers took Max to one of the animal preservation centers. In orbit, Jun-Ho's team tracked the Empire's fleet at the edge of the solar system. Her massive ships hung there like patient predators, waiting for Earth's submission. Behind Earth's moon, hidden from their sensors, thousands of evacuation ships waited in secret bases. Lunar Base Alpha reports another 100 ships ready for loading, his communications officer said. "They're proceeding with passenger transfers under sensor shadow." Jun-Ho nodded. The moon's bulk helped hide their activities from Imperial sensors. Small shuttles were constantly moving between Earth and the lunar bases, using natural gravity wells and radiation belts to mask their movements. Min-ji's voice came through his private channel. "Status report on Group 7 transfer." "On schedule," Jun-Ho replied. "We're using the Empire's own sensor ghosts to hide the shuttle movements. They're so focused on their tribute deadline that they're missing everything else." In the stadium command center, Min-ji pulled up the master evacuation schedule. Millions of people had already been secretly moved to the lunar bases or other hidden launch facilities. Millions more were still waiting their turn. 4 days, 17 hours until deadline, her system announced. Min-ji felt the weight of time pressing down. They would make it. They had to make it. Humanity's future depended on maintaining this massive deception for just a few more days. She watched another group of families move through processing, saw the mix of fear and hope in their eyes. They were leaving behind everything they knew, heading into an uncertain future among the stars. But they were going together, and they were going free. Next group, Processing Station 4. The announcement echoed through the stadium. More people moved forward, carrying their small bags of precious belongings. Above them, Jun-Ho's team continued their dance of deception with the Empire's observers. And in secret bases around the world, the final ships were being prepared for humanity's great escape. The countdown continued. The sky above Earth was deceptively calm as the Imperial deadline approached. In the primary command bunker beneath Mount Fuji, Sang-Mei Park took a deep breath as she watched the final countdown reach 0. 30 days had passed since the Empire's ultimatum. Now came humanity's answer. "All ships report ready," her communications officer announced. "Lunar bases confirm go status. Underground facilities standing by. Ocean launch platforms in position." Sang-Mei looked at the screens showing Earth's Defender fleet. Commander Hyun Woo-Kang's forces were in position, hidden behind a sensor screen of space debris and electronic countermeasures. They would only have one chance at this. "Send the signal," Sang-Mei ordered. "Operation Exodus is go." The command pulsed through quantum-encrypted channels to every hidden launch facility on and around Earth. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the world erupted. The ground shook as massive hangar doors opened in mountain ranges worldwide. The oceans churned as ships rose from underwater bases. The moon's dark side lit up as thousands of vessels powered their engines simultaneously. Every hidden bunker, every secret facility, every concealed shipyard activated at once. Imperial fleet detecting multiple launches, Tactical reported. They're scrambling to combat positions. Sang Mai watched as the Empire's warships began to move, but they were slow, caught off guard by the sheer scale of the evacuation. They had expected submission, not this unprecedented mass exodus. In orbit, Commander Hyun Woo-kang gave his own order. Defender fleet, execute attack pattern Omega. Give our people time to escape. Earth's remaining military vessels emerged from hiding, their weapons blazing. They didn't need to win. They just needed to create chaos and confusion. Missiles streaked across space, electronic warfare systems activated, and clouds of chaff obscured the Empire's sensors. First wave of civilian ships clearing atmosphere. Sangmi's display showed. Millions of vessels of all sizes streamed away from Earth, each following carefully plotted escape vectors. The Empire's forces tried to intercept them, but there were too many targets, moving in too many directions. Imperial ships attempting to establish containment grid, Tactical warned. But the Empire's formation was rushed, disorganized. They had never anticipated this scenario. No species had ever attempted such a massive simultaneous escape. In his command ship, Hyun Woo watched with satisfaction as the civilian vessels slipped through gaps in the Imperial line. His forces were taking heavy losses, but they were accomplishing their mission. Humanity would survive. Second wave launching now, Sangli announced. More ships rose from Earth's surface, while others emerged from hidden lunar bases. The Empire's forces were still struggling to contain the first wave when millions more vessels joined the exodus. FTL drives spooling up on first-wave ships, the engineering officer reported. The experimental faster-than-light engines powered up, their energy signatures masked by the chaos of battle. Hyun Woo's fleet launched another barrage of missiles and electronic attacks. All defensive units, push them back. Give the civilians their window. The first civilian ships began to vanish, their FTL drives carrying them to predetermined coordinates far beyond the Empire's reach. Each ship jumped in a different direction, making pursuit impossible. The Empire would never be able to track them all. Third wave commencing launch, Sangmei called out. The final groups of ships rose from Earth, carrying the last of the evacuees. The Empire's forces were now fully engaged, but their response was too late. More civilian ships made the jump to FTL, disappearing into the vastness of space. The Empire's sensors were overwhelmed trying to track thousands of simultaneous jumps, each on a different vector. Defender fleet reporting critical damage, Tactical announced. Hyun Woo's forces were being decimated, but they had done their job. The civilian evacuation was nearly complete. Final wave clearing atmosphere now, Sangmai reported. She checked the displays showing the evacuation progress. Despite the chaos, despite the odds, they had done it. Billions of humans were now safely away from Earth, scattered across countless escape routes. Imperial forces breaking through defensive line. Came the warning. But it didn't matter anymore. The last civilian ships were powering up their FTL drives. Hyun Woo's voice came through the command channel one last time. It's been an honor. Tell our people. Tell them we gave them their chance. His fleet made one final attack run, drawing Imperial fire away from the last escaping ships. Sangmai watched as the Defender fleet vanished in a series of explosions, their sacrifice ensuring humanity's survival. Final civilian ships jumping to FTL. Now, the last wave of evacuation ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving Earth behind. In the command bunker, Sangmei and her skeleton crew prepared for their own departure. They had a different mission now, to maintain the deception just a little longer, to ensure the Empire never learned where humanity had gone. As she looked at the final images of Earth, Sang Mei felt a mix of sadness and pride. They had achieved the impossible. Humanity had refused to submit, refused to fight a hopeless battle, and instead chosen a third path, one that would ensure their freedom among the stars. The Empire had demanded tribute. Instead, they got an empty world and a lesson they would never forget. Humanity had escaped. Deep within the last remaining command center on Earth, Jin Ho Lee watched as the Imperial fleet surrounded the planet. Around him, his volunteer rear guard worked at their stations, maintaining the illusion of normal activity, even though billions of humans had already escaped to the stars. Imperial Command is demanding to speak with Earth's leadership, his communications officer reported. They're growing suspicious about the lack of tribute preparations. Jin Ho smiled slightly. Let them wait a little longer. Every minute gives our people more distance. He looked at the screens showing the empty cities below, the abandoned factories, the quiet streets. Earth looked peaceful, almost serene, in its abandonment. The rear guard had spent the last few days carefully erasing evidence of humanity's great escape. They had destroyed technical data, wiped computers, and removed any clues that might help the Empire track the fleeing ships. Now came the final act of their mission. "Sir, they're threatening to open fire if we don't respond," the officer warned. "Then it's time." Jin Ho straightened his uniform. "Open a channel to all Imperial frequencies. Let's give them humanity's farewell message." The Empire's ambassador appeared on the main screen, scales flickering with angry colors. "Where is our tribute? Why have our sensors detected mass population movement?" Jin Ho faced the camera calmly. "You demanded tribute from Earth. Here is our answer. We choose freedom." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Humanity will not submit to slavery, nor will we die fighting a hopeless battle. We have chosen a different path." The ambassador's expression changed from anger to disbelief as reports began flooding in. Empty cities, abandoned facilities, a planet stripped of its population, leaving only minimal traces of where billions of people had gone. "This is impossible," the ambassador sputtered. "No species has ever. You can't have." "We did." Jin Ho's voice carried pride. "While you watched us gather what you thought was tribute, we prepared for the greatest journey in human history. Our people are gone, scattered among the stars. You will never find them all." The news spread quickly through the Empire's fleet. Sensors confirmed what seemed unbelievable. Earth's human population had vanished, leaving behind only the volunteer rear guard and an empty planet. In the Empire's central worlds, the news caused chaos. Other tributary species began questioning their submission. If humans could escape, why couldn't they? The Empire's carefully maintained system of control began showing cracks. "What of those who remained behind?" the ambassador demanded. "You cannot all have escaped." Jin Ho looked at his brave volunteers. They had known from the start. This was a one-way mission. "We stayed to make sure our people got away safely, to ensure the Empire would never know where they went. Our task is done." He activated the final sequence, a carefully designed computer virus that began spreading through Earth's remaining systems, corrupting navigation data, erasing trajectory information, destroying any clues to the evacuation routes. "You have failed, Ambassador," Jin Ho continued. "You thought humans would behave like all your other conquests, either submit or fight. Instead, we showed the galaxy a third option. Freedom is worth any price." The ambassador's scales turned dark with rage. "You will tell us where they have gone. We will find them." "No," Jin Ho replied simply. "The Empire's territory is vast, but the galaxy is vastly larger. Our people have scattered in too many directions, using technology you didn't know we had. They're already beyond your reach." Reports were coming in from across the Empire's territories. Subject species were watching Earth's example with growing interest. The Empire's reputation for inevitable victory had been shattered by a primitive world that simply refused to play by their rules. "The rear guard has completed their final tasks," Jin Ho's second-in-command reported quietly. Around them, systems were shutting down one by one, destroying themselves to protect humanity's secrets. Jin-Ho nodded. Then we have one last message for the Empire. He faced the camera again. Remember Earth, Ambassador. Remember the world that refused your generous offer. Remember that freedom will always find a way. The transmission cut off. In the command center, Jin-Ho and his volunteers stood proud as the Empire's ships closed in. They had accomplished their mission. Humanity was safe, scattered across the stars, free to build a new future away from Imperial control. The Empire had demanded tribute from Earth. Instead, they received a lesson they would never forget, and an empty world that would become a symbol of resistance for generations to come. As alarms blared and Imperial troops prepared to board the facility, Jin-Ho looked at his brave team. They had given everything so that humanity could survive free. History would remember their sacrifice. The last lights in the command center went dark, and Earth's final defenders waited to meet their fate, knowing they had changed the galaxy forever. The alien sun cast a purple glow across the valley as Dahai Kim stepped out of the colony ship. After 3 years of faster-than-light travel, the first group of human refugees had finally found their new home. The planet's twin moons hung in the sky like watchful guardians as survey teams spread out across the terrain. Initial readings are promising, her science officer reported. Atmosphere is breathable with minimal filtration. Soil samples show compatibility with Earth crops. We can start building here. Dahai looked at the thousands of people emerging from their cryopods, their faces mixing wonder and sadness as they took their first breaths on an alien world. This was just one of hundreds of colony ships that had scattered across the galaxy, each carrying a piece of humanity to safety. In orbit above the planet, Jae-Sung Park monitored the quantum entanglement network that kept the scattered human colonies in contact. Each colony ship had carried a paired quantum device, allowing instantaneous communication across any distance. The Empire could never intercept these signals. Colony 7 reports successful landing, his communications officer announced. Colony 12 has found a suitable planet. Colony 23 is still searching. The reports kept coming in as humanity's children found new homes among the stars. Back on the surface, Dahai watched as the first prefabricated buildings took shape. Engineers had designed them to be assembled quickly, creating instant communities for the refugees. Within days, the valley began to look like a proper settlement. We're receiving a transmission from the Newton colony, Jae-Sung called down. They've successfully established their first farm dome. The seeds are adapting well to their new world. This was how humanity would survive, not as one united civilization, but as hundreds of scattered settlements, each developing in its own way. Some colonies focused on agriculture, others on technology. All of them shared their discoveries through the quantum network. 3 years turned to 5, then 10. The colonies grew and prospered. Children were born who had never seen Earth, but they learned its story. They learned about the empire that had tried to enslave their parents and about the great escape that had saved their people. The empire still searches, Jae-Sung reported during one of their regular council meetings, but they're looking in the wrong places. They can't imagine how far we've spread. Dahai nodded, looking out over her thriving colony. The original prefab buildings had been replaced by permanent structures. Gardens bloomed with a mix of earth plants and native species. Children played in parks under the purple sky. The quantum network hummed with constant activity as the colony shared knowledge and culture. Artists created new works inspired by alien landscapes. Scientists developed technologies that combined human innovation with discoveries from their new worlds. Each colony contributed to humanity's growth in exile. Some colonies established trading relationships with local alien species, being careful to hide their connection to Earth. Others remained completely hidden, developing in isolation. All of them remembered where they came from and why they had fled. 20 years after the Great Escape, humanity had changed. They were no longer just Earth's children. They were citizens of the galaxy, adapted to a dozen different worlds. But they never forgot their ancestral home. New colony ships are ready, J-Sum announced one day. The colonies had grown strong enough to build their own vessels, spreading humanity even further among the stars. We're expanding faster than the Empire can search. Dahai stood with her daughter, born on this alien world, watching their second generation of colonists prepare to leave. "Tell me again about Earth," the girl asked, as she often did. "Earth was our first home," Dahai began, telling the story that had become legend. "When the Empire came to take our freedom, we chose not to fight, not to submit, but to flee. We scattered like seeds in the wind, taking root on new worlds. In hidden shipyards throughout the colonies, engineers worked on new technologies, preparing for the day when humanity might return to Earth, not to fight the Empire, but to show them that freedom could never be contained." The legend of Earth spread through the galaxy. Other species whispered about the humans who had escaped the Empire's grasp, who had built a civilization in secret. Some said Earth was now empty, a monument to the price of imperial arrogance. Others claimed humans would one day return, transformed by their time among the stars. But the truth was more powerful than any legend. Humanity had not just survived. They had thrived. Each colony became a new chapter in their story. Each alien sunset a reminder of how far they had come. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, the quantum network carried messages of hope between humanity's scattered children, waiting for the day when they would all go home.